Of course you are, Lisette. Hello, everybody. We'll just wait a few minutes and then we'll let everybody kind of jump on and then we'll get started. How's everybody? Everyone all right? Everyone holding up okay? Exactly. Keep chopping that wood. I'm doing great. I can see my sister and my mom are on this. I love that. The more the merrier. What's everybody been doing stuck in quarantine? Anyone? (2003). I'm a class of 2011. How's it going? And then before we get started, what I'll say is I have my phone kind of propped up when I'm mixing and whatnot, when I can take a break. If there's any questions that I didn't get or I missed, I'll jump on and kind of get to any of them if you guys have any questions at all. But we'll give it a couple more seconds and then we'll kind of get going and I'll do a little introduction and we'll kind of get from there. Does everyone have at least coffee or a drink of their choice? How are you? Tequila. I'm drinking a little bit of coffee right now. Give it a little bit more and then we'll get started. Good to go. All right, we'll get started. I know that people will come and go, but we'll just jump right into it. So, hello, everybody. My name is Chef Tab Volpe. I am the pastry chef at Number 9 Park in Boston. I am the graduating class of Johnson & Wales in Providence of 2011. I graduated my bachelor's in the P4 program, or Baking and Pastry Arts. And I've been going with Number 9. I've been the pastry chef there for going on three and a half years right now. I can see basically my whole pastry team is in there. So hello to all you guys. But the Number 9 is the flagship restaurant of Chef Barbara Lynch. She is, in my mind, I always joke with her that she's my spirit animal. She's amazing. We are the flagship of 7 restaurants. Number 9 is the fine dining. Monton is our sister restaurant. One of them is also another fine dining. We are on Park Street. It's right where Boston's State House is. Do more on the fine dining-ish. And on top of that, I was asked to do this, and I was actually supposed to do Taste of Daewoo this weekend. But of course, with what's going on now, it was postponed until, I believe, next year. But might as well kind of fill in that little gap. But with number 9 being fine dining, we have again, fine dining comes with a lot of standards. So the one thing that's kind of keeping me going throughout this whole thing is a cup of coffee, more than one or multiple every day. But with that, at the end, we kind of have the experience go from the beginning to end. And one of the ending standards or experiences that we like to have in the restaurant is with the coffee and tea service. And the coffee and tea service is also greeted or paired with a biscotti or any type of cookie towards the end. And that can change seasonal or basically with kind of what ingredients we have. And it's been a hit. And we kind of, before all of this started, I believe Lisette's in here, so I think she can vouch. I think it was, inclusions were some type, or as almonds, pistachios, a little bit of cocoa powder, and I believe there was something else. It was a dried fruit. I think it was cranberry, but it's pretty easy and pretty reasonable to make. So I thought that this is going to be pretty quick to kind of throw together. So in the meantime, I'm going to kind of be talking about kind of the ingredients and kind of just what's been going on. So we'll get some coffee. And we'll kind of get going. Again, a little backstory, biscotti, Italian cookie. You know that it's, oh yeah, it was a chocolate brownie Cliff Bar. That's right. There you go. I was addicted to the Cliff Bars. So Lisette whipped that up. That was good call. Good call. Thanks for reminding me. So what we're going to be making today is biscotti. Biscotti, Italian cookie. It's baked twice. So it's going to be a pretty crunchy cookie. But the dough itself is pretty intense. I'm Laura. And once you kind of get going, it's kind of, you can freeze it, you can bake it, you can do whatever you want with it. It's a very long shelf life. Again, we all been cooped up for going on 40 something days. I've kind of lost count. So today we're going to be making a little bit of orange, chocolate, and almond biscotti. So what we're going to be doing, I'll kind of give you the little rundown of the recipe. So we're going to be using a 3/4 cup. This is the recipe that I'm going to be using. It's going to be yielding about 2 to 3 logs, about 15 by 3 inch long by width. That should kind of yield you, depending on how thick or thin that you cut your biscotti. It yielded me about 40. So this recipe that I'm going to kind of give you guys, you can cut this in half and it'll be more of a personal kind of batch for you guys. So we're going to start with butter. We're going to use a 3/4 of a cup. Sugar, granulated sugar, we're going to be using 1 cup. Eggs, 6 each. Pastry flour, we're going to get into the types of flour a little bit there. It's going to be 4.5 cups. Baking powder, 4 teaspoons. Salt, 1/2 teaspoon. Almonds, 2.5 cups. Chocolate chips, 1 package of I've been using Toll House, vanilla, and orange zest. So the first thing what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have your stand mixer. Of course, we all usually have KitchenAid. So the sugar and the butter. So you're going to put the sugar and the butter in the bowl. And then you're going to kind of get that locked and going. We're going to be creaming. So basically the creaming method is just kind of softening the solid fats. In this case, we're going to be using the butter. The cream method is going to be adding air into the batter or into the dough or any usual batters or mixing methods. And it also allows the sugar and the butter to kind of get together and kind of lock in together. So it will help in the baking process to basically when the butter and the sugar melt in the baking process, it will release the steam, which will help. So we'll kind of get that going a little bit. You can also add your flavor, like for right now, the flavorings you could add in with the eggs. But what I'll usually do is you just take 1 zest of an orange and then you just kind of put it right on top of the bowl and kind of zest there. Especially with the orange and the zest. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be able to take the oils from the zest of the orange, and it's going to kind of release once the mixture is going. And it's going to release the oils, and the butter is kind of going to give you, it's going to kind of look like a little orange-ish, but that's good. You know, all the flavors. Love the lemons in the plant. Thanks. And we're going to get that going a little bit. The big thing, I'm sorry if the noise is a little bit loud. The big thing is you want to make sure that it's creamed enough, and you don't want to overcream it, which will basically add a lot more air. So once you kind of get this nice and creamed up, we'll let that go in a little bit. Who's ever graduated and whoever had baking and pastry, did anyone have baking pastry labs in here? Or I had a chef, Chef Richie, and he would always use the line creamy and dreamy when making, basically creaming anything, any batters, and that's kind of stuck with me a little bit. I know Johnson Wales is kind of transforming a little bit with it, but you know, a lot of the stuff at Johnson, a lot of the experiences, and more so the chefs' relationships and kind of getting to know them on a more of a personal level. That's really big for me in my profession. Is this basically making pastry is second to none, but getting to know on a personal level for my cooks as well, kind of making sure that they're all good, and getting to know them on building that relationship. I think that's the biggest thing, getting to know someone, because this will come natural again, but you know, it's something that I've taken from chefs that I've worked with to chefs that I had at Johnson & Wales. And they kind of teach you those little life lessons. Which phrase, David? And again, I'll kind of stop here and there. This is a good time for me to, while this is creaming, it's almost done, to kind of just chat with you guys if you guys have any questions. My senior, little background, like my senior years was the first year with the CCE building, so the new lab building. So go way back. I was in, just a little before we get going on this, is I was in, I believe it was marine biology for an elective, which is funny. But and they were actually driving the post in for the new building that same time, so it was pretty funny. Oh my God, what's my favorite show to watch and binge watch? Right now I've been watching Curb Your Enthusiasm and Westworld. I'm confused, but I think everybody is when watching it once you get past the first season. And again, once we're nice and creamed for here, what you're going to do is you're just going to kind of scrape it down. Just want to make sure that everything's all incorporated and that everything's all consistent with that, and just kind of give it like one little mix around. And then we're going to start incorporating, I'll kind of move my phone so you guys can see it. Tiger King, I think everybody's doing Tiger King. But next we're going to be adding the eggs. If someone doesn't have, this is for my sister, if someone doesn't have a mixer, can they use a spatula? Yes, but it's going to be a lot of work. Hi, Chef. Binge playing Animal Crossing. Yep. I love it. Love it. So next we're going to add the eggs. So we're going to add 6 eggs, one at a time. So incorporating the eggs is pretty good too. This one actually has, if you're going to kind of look at the recipe, and if you guys want some, you're going to see that there is a lot of eggs to this. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding eggs, eggs of course, but adding the fat from the yolks and the protein from the whites. It's going to be giving a little bit, adding to more structure, more, hi Greg, a little bit more structure, a little bit moisture to the batter itself. But of course, you don't want to add it too fast, or it's going to just turn into a mess and it's going to kind of curdle a little bit. So just one at a time. And you're going to let it get fully incorporated. I've been using unsalted butter. Chef, I am making chocolate almond orange biscotti. Goes perfect with number 9's coffee. I was telling them. I use unsalted just because we're going to be adding a little bit more salt. And in between, you want to make sure that you scrape down everything. And another little tip that you guys may have known, of course, but you want to make sure that all your eggs, your flour, your inclusions will get there, eggs, butter, sugar, all at room temp. It just makes a little bit better when it's mixing and everything. Again, what we're trying to achieve is a balance of mixing, temperature or anything like that. So you just want to make sure that everything's good. So that one egg is good. We're just going to add another one. And again, this does have a lot of eggs. What's my favorite dessert? Number 9, we do a chocolate souffle. It's been on the menu for, I think, 2.5 years. I think 2.5 years. It's pretty funny. My actually head chef is in here too. There's a story behind it. Is during my stage and my tasting for number 9, I actually had to do a couple plated desserts, of course, which everybody from the industry would know that you would have to do. It's kind of like a tryout. Is I had an interview with one of the previous chefs, Chef Scott, and one of his favorite desserts was souffle. And he goes, I haven't had a proper souffle. And I was like, you know what? I took this head on as a challenge that, of course, I'm going to do it. And I mean, it's pretty bold to do a souffle as on a stage or basically as a job tryout. So I said, hey, why not? Of course, humble brag, I crushed it. And it's been on the menu ever since, like 2.5 years, I think. And that is, I used to do it I used to have a small, like a daily count. So once it's sold out, it kind of give an incentive for people to come in. But it was more of a demand that we basically go through. Souffle game is strong, yeah. I miss it. I can't wait. Maybe during the summer, if we get back in the summer, wink, wink, if I'll do a frozen one to kind of go with the temperature. But it was good. It kind of gave a little pizzazz to the menu a little bit when the guests see it and they're greeted at the table, and be like, just to let you know that the pastry chef is offering a souffle. It takes about 20, ours take about like 17 minutes depending on the chocolate or the inclusions that we do. About 17 minutes. So if you want to place place an order in now for it, so we can reserve it. So, and they were selling like hotcakes or souffles, to be honest. So we're almost done adding the eggs, and then we can start getting into adding the dries, and then we'll kind of get talking a little bit more. Chick-fil-A or Popeyes? I'm not gonna lie, I've been on the Chick-fil-A kick a little bit. The number 2 deluxe is pretty good. Hi, Dalen. Yeah. At this time, if you guys have been following it, or on my story or whatnot, I've kind of had an infatuation with Ina Garten. So I'm almost done adding the eggs. What you can do is you can add vanilla. If you don't have good vanilla, I've been waiting to do this all day. Store-bought is fine. Stop and Shop, of course. Just add a little bit. And then we'll finish up adding. Also, I preheated my oven 350 degrees. The Chick-fil-A Popeyes debate is intense, but I've been literally dying to say store, or if you don't have fresh vanilla, store-bought is fine. So I'll give it one last scrape before adding the dries or starting to add the dries. You're going to notice too, just because of the eggs, it's going to add a lot of moisture, so that the batter is going to be a little bit more liquid. But again, with the dries and the occlusions, the dough is going to kind of firm up, and it's going to be perfect by itself. So, hi Ashley, love you too. Have I ever made my own vanilla extract? That's a funny thing you asked. So, as you know, one of the most expensive, I would say, ingredient for pastry, I know, is definitely vanilla beans. For like a quarter of a pound, I think, a quarter of a pound right now is, I think it's like 174. I think so, if I'm not gonna lie. Can we see the batter? Absolutely. So what you're gonna do, just bear with me. My dog is around here somewhere, so if you see him popping around, you'll probably see his face pop up here, around here. His name's Ralph. Don't be alarmed. But to get back on the vanilla extract line is, I actually, when Buddha Hand was in season, we had extra vanilla bean scraps and pods left over. I actually stewarded 2 bottles of grain alcohol, and I've been it's been going on a year and a half now, I put all the vanilla beans and on one bottle, and on the other bottle I put Buddha Hand, and I've left it on the shelf for, I think, a year and a half now. And every so often I kind of like go there, kind of agitate it a little bit, see what's going on. But it's pretty strong if you taste it. I add a little bit of sugar and a little bit of water to it, so it's kind of like Buddha Hand limoncello, what is that I called it? I actually have one of the desserts on my Instagram that has it. So here's the batter. So you're gonna see the batter a little bit. Don't worry about that. It still is a little wet, but again, we're gonna get through that. How can people make this allergy friendly? You can use gluten-free flour. You can use an egg substitute with nuts or any inclusions. It depends. If you're a nut allergy, you don't have to do nuts. But I'm using semi-sweet dark chocolate. It again depends on whatever your allergies are, if you're keto or anything like that. So we're going to stop this, and we're going to kind of include the dries now. So what I'm going to be using pastry flour. And if you guys are kind of confused with or have questions on the types of flour, so the main 4 are going to be AP, bread, cake, and pastry. AP is on more of the medium kind of scale. What was that, Trip? Sorry, I should have warned you. AP is on the middle scale of protein and starch. There's a little bit less gluten, a little less protein. So basically, if you have AP flour, you can definitely use AP flour in this. So don't fret if that's anything that is kind of determining what you have. I tried to make this recipe readily available to basically what you guys might have in your pantry. Of course, bread is the higher protein, larger amount of gluten produced in a flour. So again, I would kind of shy away from this, because you're kind of looking for, although the biscotti is baked twice, you want to make sure that the actual structure and texture of it is kind of still a little fluffy, a little tender, that you're able to, you're not going to like break a tooth if it's really dense, really tough, or anything like that. Cake flour is more of the fine mill, low protein. It's often bleached. And it's good for a batter that has higher sugar content, lower content of protein, ensures a tender and fluffy texture. If you guys don't have cake flour on hand, you can actually use a ratio of AP flour and cornstarch. Cornstarch, you can add 2 tablespoons to 1 cup of AP flour to make your own cake flour. But on this case, we're going to be using pastry flour. Pastry flour is finer, is on the lower end so if we're looking on the scale of finer, is on the very far end, is a finer scale than AP. We're going to be using AP as a standard. It's good for quick breads, muffins, of course, biscottis, cookies. I wouldn't use it I kind of shy away from using for cake. You just don't want it to basically have like I know the fluffiness, but you also don't want to make sure that it doesn't collapse. The ratio, so you can add 2 tablespoons of cornstarch to 1 cup of AP flour. And again, your best friend for any pastry chef or baker is sift it. You want to make sure that everything's sifted, just so again you can fully incorporate. And again, the running theme is you want to make sure that everything is kind of all one texture, all one, just one whole, how do I say it? One whole piece in a sense. So what we have with that is, and again, if you don't have pastry flour, you can also use a ratio of, again, this kind of, I'm sorry to play mind games with you, but if you have cake flour and AP flour, you can use a ratio of 2 to 1 cake flour to AP flour to make your own pastry flour. Did you get my Instagram will be up there. I think it's all around. I think it's on JWoo and everything like that. But while this is ready to go, we're going to be ready to add the dries. And of course, everybody's biggest thing is you want to make a mess, of course. You can buy the flours in the grocery store. Absolutely. Hi, Haley. How are you? So what I do also, a little tip for scaling out. So any of your leavening agents or your salts, I would scale out separately. Just because if you were to already scale the dries and you misscale the baking powder or baking soda or sugar, whatever you're using, it's going to literally make your life a living hell. So I would separate it. Just so you can really kind of get rid of that variable and you don't have to like worry about, oh my God, if I added too much. So we're going to add the baking powder and the salt in with the dries as well. And what I would do, honestly, my best friend is what you're going to do is you're going to grab this pastry flour or the pastry flour and the parchment, and you can kind of just take it, put it on the pastry flour and the parchment. You're going to take this, kind of make like a little envelope, bring it up, just slowly add it in, kind of let that kind of with the eggs. So what you're going to do is you're going to make sure that it fully incorporates, because you're going to scrape it as well. Good to see you too, Haley. Is you're going to scrape it, make sure that again everything is all one cohesive mixture and everything is nice and smooth. And again, if you want to make sure that you sift it as well, I did sift the baking powder and the flour ahead of time. You just want to make sure that everything is just one cohesive mixture as well. And then what you're going to do is you're going to stop that. You're going to kind of make another envelope. While this is stopped, you're going to take your scraper, your spat, and you're just going to kind of mix it up one more time. And then we're going to get, once all the dries are mixed, we're going to talk about inclusions. In this case, we're going to be using the chocolate chips and the almonds and the orange zest. And also what I would say is if you wanted, yeah, it's more so just you kind of got to let it kind of like do its thing. Don't freak out over it. And if you guys ever wondering how to do, I'm just going to do 3 inclusions on this. I want to make sure that if you want to do a chocolate biscotti, as in the biscotti that we had at number 9 before the whole quarantine started, was we had chocolate, basically made a Cliff Bar in a sense. So what we would do is we would take cocoa powder, not melted chocolate, because A, it's going to add moisture and it's going to make your biscotti dough very moist and sticky, and it's going to make a mess. The added moisture might make the biscotti spread out a lot more. So what we do is we add cocoa powder. You can use regular cocoa powder or jet black. I would kind of shy away from jet black just because it has a tendency to dry out a lot quicker than regular cocoa powder. So what I would do is say that you have 100 grams of say AP flour and you want to make chocolate biscotti. What I would do is I would sub out, say, about 25 to about 40%, well, not 40, I would do 25 to 30% of
that flour and replace that missing, say, 25 grams with cocoa powder, and then of course repeat the sifting process. And it will literally make your biscotti. And you can also do that with macaroons as well. Yes, for chocolate macaroons. I know that a lot of people ask that if you can do French macaroons. If you do chocolate macaroons, you don't add melted chocolate to the base. You would add cocoa powder, and you would just sub it out for the 10x. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of this, and then we'll kind of talk about the inclusions. So again, the cool thing and the easy thing about biscotti that makes it a little bit better is that you can basically make it anything that you want. We also, on seasonality and whatever ingredients we have, we also kind of base it off of our coffee. Our coffee, we use La Colombe, Corsica, and it kind of pairs very well with it. So what you can do is you can make it anything you want. So any of the vanilla extracts or any extracts that you want. So if you wanted to make this more almond extract, you would add, or almondy, you would add almond extract. You can still do vanilla if you want. For inclusions, one of my favorites is you can take Amaretti cookies, and then you can basically crush up the Amaretti cookies. It will add a little bit more dryness to the biscotti, but it will be honestly delicious, to be completely honest. You can do any type of nuts, any type of chocolate. You can literally make this a kitchen sink cookie in a sense if you wanted to. But the big thing with the inclusions, if you're using any nuts, a little tip that I would give to you is because it is going to be baked twice. I'm just going to add this all in one shot too. Is I would take the nuts separate and I would toast them. Just because toasting is going to allow to release the natural oils in the nuts itself. I'm using sliced almonds right here, or sliced almonds. Just right in there, sorry for the loud noise. And then you're gonna let that kind of do its thing. So back on the inclusions is you would toast the nuts, let it completely cool down, because you don't want to add ripping hot any inclusions to this base, because A, it's going to soften it. It could melt the butter, could honestly even cook the eggs a little bit. And if you're using chocolate chips, it could melt the chocolate chips. I will get you a batter shot in 2 seconds when it comes off the mixer. And at the end, if you find that there's a little bit on the bottom, you can scrape it. Thanks, David. Is you're going to work it a little bit, and when you roll it into a log, that you're going to be able to, don't be sorry, don't be better, of course. That is actually our saying at number 9. So as you can see, hold on, I'll pull it over. So it kind of looks like chocolate chip cookie dough. Yeah? So what you can do is you can take it and just kind of peel it off. And then you're going to have the leftover, or the finished, not the leftover, but you're going to have the dough, and you're just going to have it like that. So what you can do is, and again, this batch, how I said earlier, is going to make 3 logs. So what you can do is you can take this, and then you're going to take a little bit of flour, just right on the thing. You're going to your table surface or anything. You're going to take it, just add a little bit more. Don't worry about adding too much. And again, the logs itself will make probably a log about 15 inches by 3 inches at the end. Well, the 3 inches is going to be the finished baked product. So you're just gonna kind of get the, hold on, if I can, I'll show you a little cross section. So you're gonna have basically like that. And again, with the inclusions as well, you can use any candied citrus peel. You can use any chocolates. So many logs. I'll go back to the questions. Absolutely. Basically, any inclusions that you want, you can make it your own. And again, this is what I just had laying around. So at the end, so you're going to take basically your sheet pan. Make sure that your oven is preheated to 350 degrees. Can I request a delivery? Of course. But it's got to be 6 feet, of course. So what you're going to do is, I kind of split it in half, as you guys can see a little bit. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this. So these ones will spread a little bit, but what my trick is that you just kind of take that and kind of push it down a little bit. And kind of, it will spread a little bit, that it's not going to be a lot in a sense. But yeah, that's pretty much it. What you would do is, if you wanted to add any other type of garnish to it, if you wanted to add any, say like powdered sugar, snow sugar, or anything like that, I would do it after the first bake. And again, we're going to talk about after the baking and everything like that. So yeah, so this is good. You can freeze these in a log, put it in parchment paper and roll it and then freeze it. And then pull it out for a later time. This will be a shelf-stable dough. This will do, again, this biscotti, even before it's baked or anything like that, it will bake just as is or anything like that. So what we're going to do is, you have the oven set for I have flour all on that. That's fine. You have 350 degrees for probably about first bake, probably I would say 35 minutes. What you want to make sure is that the crust on the outside is basically set, and on the inside as well. So what we'll do is, Chef, I took a side towel from number 9, I'm sorry. So you want to clear up a little bit. And again, there's still so much dough left over, but that's fine. We'll have biscottis for days. It will go good with my coffee. That's all that really matters, to be completely honest. The logs, it depends on your sheet pan, to be completely honest. If you're using a half sheet, I am using one right now, and again, the 15-inch, it's fine. It depends on how many or how much biscotti that you want. How dare you fire, I'm sorry. And again, due to that, I already baked some off, of course, so they're golden brown. I wouldn't go too dark on the first time, but what you would do is, so this is basically what I said it was going to be. So if you want to break it apart, you're going to see the inclusions. The big thing that you want to do is, that I can't stress enough, it's not just because it's nitpicking, is that if you're using dark chocolate or any type of chocolate, after the first bake, you want it to be completely cooled down, because you don't want liquid hot chocolate going everywhere and burning yourself. Thanks. And the other thing too is, when you're cutting it, is that you don't want the section here to be kind of filled with chocolate. And you also just kind of, the other good thing is you can kind of see all the inclusions a little bit. So with this is, after it's fully baked and it is fully just cooled down completely, is that you're going to basically cut it, and then you're going to bake it a second time. So what we can do is you're going to take your knife. I know I said serrated knife. My favorite tool for me is an offset serrated knife. You can literally get them on Amazon for, I think, like $10. So what you're going to do is, you can do one of two ways. I'm using a chef's knife. Is you're going to take the log, depending on how thin or thick that you want the biscotti, is that you can take that, you can basically, cut it straight up like that.
If you can't see, my dog is literally right. Come here. If you can see his snout, you see him? There he is. There he is. And then what you can do is you can either cut it on an angle. So what I'll usually do is just kind of, so they don't fall apart, is that I'll usually cut them to a 1/2 inch to 1 inch thick. Just like that. And you can see the cross section a little bit. And you can kind of see how the dough itself is a nice kind of like tender, and it's easily breaking apart. Doing pretty good. So what you can do is you can keep going and just kind of, you can see him. He's literally, as soon as there's food, he's literally, right, Ralph? His name's Ralph. You want to take that and just like that. It's perfect. It's pretty simple. It's pretty easy. Honestly, the biggest thing that I would say that takes the most time is baking, of course, because you have to let it kind of cool down, and you got to take its time, and we can't rush it, because either if you underbake it, it's going to get gross and it's going to be weird. It's going to get cakey, gummy. But if you bake it too much, you want to make sure it's that in-betweenish time that if you bake it too much, that when you go to cut it, the whole biscotti is going to crumble, and it's going to be like a finished biscotti, but it's going to be in one full log. And again, so what you're going to do while that one's in the oven is you want to finish up, and then you just put these in the oven at 350 degrees for about like 10 minutes. I have a sheet pan on the left-hand side of me here. And again, I got to be careful because my dog is all over the place. And to be honest, how quick and easy that is, that's biscotti. You want to bake it, make sure for another 10 minutes till it's golden brown, depending on your preference. If you like a more of a well-done cookie or a well-done biscotti. Convection oven, honestly, my oven's the same thing. I've been doing 350 I've been watching it every 8-10 minutes. Once you start seeing color, I would honestly stay next to it, because as soon as it will literally, it will burn, and then you'll have to start all over and then use another log that you were saving for another time. At the end of it, to be completely honest, again, so what you would have is this is a second bake. I like a little bit color on the outside, as you can see a little, the golden brown ring on the outside, and then on the inside it is kind of like that. And then you break it open, and that's it. Does anybody have any questions? I know it was pretty quick, but again, this is something that I know that it's pretty easy, but it's more so how I look at it is for the standard for number 9 and our coffee program and everything is just the kind of thought behind it. And it's kind of something other than just a cup of coffee. It also is with the cookie, and then, and that's it. Does anybody have any questions? You see him? There he is. Ralph. There he is. He's like a shark. There he is. What's my favorite memory of Jay Wu? Oh my God. I did the ICC team. I was actually on the culinary team with Chef Oblenek. We went down to Miami. That was a pretty cool thing. Just a whole kind of, remember when don't remind me, Jeff, to be complete. I don't want to talk about it. Remember when Gronk was traded to that? Yeah. But yeah, definitely going with the ICC team down to Miami. Definitely, that was pretty cool. Just kind of it added another layer to the industry in a sense. Because that was my sophomore, junior year, I believe. I know it's been a while, but it gave me that opportunity to see more so getting into a kitchen, fast pace with everything you're timed. How do you about Gronk? Hi, Gabby. Is that it allowed you to get better with everything in this industry is based on time, and what you can do with it is you're your own worst enemy, and it's not, you can't blame the ingredients, you can't blame anything. It is basically how you dictate and how you hold yourself to basically every day. I've worked in hotels and I've had the mentality that every day is a new day, and that you got to make sure that that you're ready for anything that throws at you, and basically kind of taking that opportunity and just kind of rolling with it and making it the best you can, and just don't be afraid to do anything. And I know that's kind of broad of what my favorite thing was, but it was more than that, and it was more than just thinking about what was my funniest. Oh my god. Just taking the bigger picture of everything. I'm more of a bigger picture type of guy. It went to show you, it kind of made you realize that, hey, do you want to do this? Do you not want to do it? And then you just push yourself. Again, you're your own worst enemy. Non-profit program, my students are successful not being able to be in the kitchen. I think we all are, to be completely honest. But with everything, I have a saying to basically everybody that everything's going to be okay. This whole thing was just not. Hi, Ashley. Was none of our faults, and we just got to roll with it. And again, that's why I have my coffee and biscotti and kind of get us through. We have each other, and we're just going to kind of take it day by day, and we'll be back before we know it. And I'll be, for everybody at number 9, it's going to be holiday lunch pretty soon. And it's probably going to be dino too by the time we get back. But yeah, what was my funniest memory of JWU? Oh my god. Oh man, Cosmos in no time, absolutely. Oh my god, my funniest moment. I was in West Hall my freshman year, and during the time of, it was the Patriots playoffs when they were going undefeated. I don't want to talk about that either. That was back in 2007. We were next to the rec room, so we took all the furniture from the rec room and put it into our room, and we kind of let our RAs kind of go crazy. Of course, West Hall, absolutely. Funniest moment at number 9. Don't I have to save that for the 3 questions? Oh my god, I don't know if I can say my funniest moment at number 9. Not yet. But does anybody have any questions on the biscotti or anything like that? Any questions about ingredients? Any questions about... Yes, save it. I can see that it's a number 9 kind of little reunion right now. Hi, Sophie. Cold eggs or room temp? I said everything, all your ingredients should be room temp. The recipe, I will post it on my Instagram. I believe I'll give it to the Johnson & Wales as well, and that will be posted. Always room temp, everything room temp. It just makes a better mixing and a better overall product. You don't want to do it. I have flour all over my hands, and it's now going on my black shirt. It's all right. I miss you too, Gabby. But yeah, if anyone doesn't have any more questions, I think that's it. I'm glad. Honestly, we could keep going, but oh my god. But no, it was I had so much fun. I hope you guys did too. If you don't have any more questions, I'll start wrapping it up a little bit. Do you make cakes? Yes, I do. What's up, Nico? No, thank you guys. I hope you guys are doing great. Your friends and family are safe and everyone's safe. Just take it one day at a time. Oh, I had so much fun. Oh my God. I hope to do this again. And again, if anyone has any questions, I know that my Instagram will probably be posted on the alumni. You guys can shoot me a question if you have anything. Don't thank you guys. And that should do it. Thank you, Jeff. What size is your shirt? A kid's small. Just kidding. It's a medium. Thanks for watching. Again, this is Cook with Jay Woo, but it's also a little branch off of, I'm going to add this to it. It's a little branch off of Taste of Jay Woo. It should be next, hope it's April, but it's going to be next year. But I hope you can join again and see what type of chefs are next week. Woman shirt. But thanks, guys. I'll talk to you later.